Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm back to break down this 9-game slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Before we get into it, I have released multiple MLB packages over there on Patreon, and today those are actually going to be free. If you're new to the channel or if you've been tuning in, you know about my segment I like to call Free Friday, where every Friday I'm going to go ahead and be giving everyone access to my Patreon packages that I offer over there on Patreon for free, and it's just a way of giving back to my viewers. And then it'll also give you a sneak peek of what I have to offer. And then if you think it's worthy, you can go ahead and purchase. I greatly appreciate it. I think you're going to get some great data, some great tools to help your lineups, and to help support me. So I appreciate that, guys. You can follow me over on Twitter at KJK DFS. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking down this slate today. So as always, I like to go ahead and figure out the pitchers we're going to want to play in our lineups. And I do that by looking at K rate. So I like to go ahead and sort my pitcher data sheet by K rate. And the top guy on the slate today is that in Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber has been just an absolute stud this year. He has a 30.1% K rate, 29.8% K rate against righties. Green across the board. The fly ball, the ground ball, the wobas, all green. And then against lefties, it does drop down a little bit, but the K rate's still there. He's got a 30.5% K rate. Just absolute elite stuff. And Shane Bieber definitely our top option of the slate. And when you're looking at the Vegas lines, you can see they haven't come out yet. And the only thing I would mention is that it does look like we might have some weather concerns in this game, so something to keep an eye on. Last night we didn't get a chance to play Garrett Cole because of weather, and it's looking like maybe two top pitchers on the slate, and Shane Bieber and Kenta Maeda might be dealing with some weather as well. So just keep an update on that throughout the day. Obviously, if it's going to be canceled, we can't play these guys. But Shane Bieber, number one. Second on the list is that in Brandon Woodruff. He has a 28.5% K rate. Green across the board, he has a 3.57 Sierra. The swinging strike rate stuff's probably his worst category, but the ground ball, the fly ball, the walk, and the hard hit rate stuff's all pretty good. Just good across the board against righties. He's absolutely elite. He's got a 27.5% K rate, and you can see on my data sheet, green across the board once again. The other thing against lefties, it does drop down a little bit, but he's still got that 29.5% K rate. So Woodruff definitely got to have interest in. And then looking at the Vegas lines, we can see that he is a 153 favorite taking on these Cubbies today. And then one thing that really stands out, when checking out my, once again, guys, this is all free today, so take advantage. But when looking at my team hitting data sheet, you can see that the Cubbies are actually really struggling in the strikeout category this year. While they're not a terrible lineup, they do strike out a ton. And when specifically looking at their numbers against right-handed pitching, they strike out at 26.9% clip, which is, I believe, third worst in the league. They're right behind the Brewers and the Tigers. You can see their WOBA, their ISO, and their slugging is in the green. So they do have some guys that can slug. We know that about this Cubbies lineup, but they also have some strikeouts. 26.9% clip, third worst in the league. Red on my team hitting data sheet. So that just increases the appeal for fantasy upside when targeting Brandon Woodruff. And then you factor in that he's a 153 favorite, and I really like him today. And then he's 8.5K on DraftKings, so he's priced down in the mid tier, compared to a guy like Shane Bieber or Kenta Maeda. And he's second on the slate in K rate, and he's just really good. So, I think I've given you guys enough reasons as to why he's a good play today, but I really do like Woodruff at that 8.5 price tag. And then moving further along, Kenta Maeda is, probably the preferred option above him, just because of his stuff. Maeda has been really good this year. He's got a 28.3% K rate. He's got a 14.9% swinging strike rate, which is a big bump up from Woodruff. 36% fly ball rate. The K stuff against righties, he has a 33%, and then against lefties, it's a 22.9. So I say he's a bump up, which when you say Kenta Maeda, I think many more people know him than Woodruff. But maybe I should take that back because we already gone over all the reasons as the Woodruff's matchup, and then Woodruff is cheaper. So while I would say Maeda's probably the better name value pitcher, I don't know. Maybe we could go ahead and just give the edge to Woodruff today. These are things that we have to think about and we have to decide when we're building our lineups, and then obviously we have to figure out the bats that we're going to want to play, and prices are a thing. So next on the list, the guy that I'm going to mention is Lucas Gialito. And Lucas Gialito, I had mentioned these Cubbies. But Lucas Gialito actually has the best matchup as he gets to take on the Detroit Tigers. And, I had talked about K rate. And looking at these Tigers, they're actually worst in the league in strikeout rate. And then looking at their split against right-handed pitching, they have a 27.8% K rate. Just not an impressive lineup. And, Lucas Gialito, a guy that's been very good this year. Most notably throwing that no-hitter this year. Definitely a guy that you could play today. He has a 25.3% K rate. 26.3% K rate against righties. The ground ball, the fly ball stuff's all pretty respectable. And then it's a 24.3% clip against left-handed hitting. So Lucas Gialito, taking on these Detroit Tigers, you got to like him today. Definitely a good option, and he comes in as a 278 favorite, so Vegas loves him to get the win here, which, of course, whenever playing a guy in our fantasy lineups, we do prefer for him to get the win because we get points for that win, and we want to target guys that are going to give us the most upside in our lineup. So I think Gialito offers the full package today. He's got the strikeout rate, he's got the matchup, and he's got the strong possibility of a win. So I do think that Gialito is a good option today to play in your lineups. On the cheap side, as far as salary relief guys, honestly, I don't really think that there's a ton of stuff to love today. When scrolling through the slate, I really don't think I would want to play many of these cheap guys, but I do have to give you guys some options because, as always, we're going to be looking for some salary relief. And when picking the guy that I would be most likely to play today on the cheap end, he's a guy that I've played multiple times just because of the raw talent, but it hasn't really paid out or paid off, I should say. Paid off or paid out, really, because every time I've played him, it just hasn't panned out well. But the Mize, top prospect for the Detroit Tigers, he's got a 21.6% K rate. I mean, we're dealing with a 14 inning pitch sample size, but this kid's supposed to be the real deal, number one prospect. He was a big deal when he got called up. He's got a 29% K rate against righties, but the WOBA and the slugging is very bad, giving up a lot of hard contact, and then he drops down to 16.3% against lefties. So he's been very effective against right-handed hitting. He's been struggling against lefties. Well, I shouldn't say he's been very effective. He's been effective in the strikeout category, but he's been struggling in the hard contact category. But with that being said, if we're going to target a team to get the strikeouts, I think that the Chicago White Sox team does provide some upside, and Mize is only 5.7K. So he's risky, but he would be my salary relief option, and I have to mention him. This White Sox team can slug, but they do have some strikeouts in their lineups, So once again, go ahead and check out this team hitting data sheet. They have a 24.9% K rate overall. You can see the green, the WOBA, the ISO, the slugging is all green. This team is a lineup that can rake. But my point is just the strikeouts are there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th the worst in the league in strikeout rate against right-handed pitching. So while they do have a scary lineup and they do have some guys that can rake, I do have to mention that Mize is a possible salary relief option that is very risky, but it could pay off for you. I think we definitely have some bats on this slate that we could pay up for, and Mize might be your salary relief option to pair with a more expensive pitcher. So yeah, I think that's pretty much my overall breakdown of pitching. I think it's pretty straightforward on this slate. And then, while the guys you want to play are pretty straightforward, I also think that there's definitely some good guys that we can target for our bats to stack up some hitters against other pitchers. And once again, when looking at pitchers that I want to target as far as playing bats against, I like to start my sheet by Sierra. Figure out these guys that have really been struggling. And the first guy that stands out is Steven Brawl. He has a 5.05 Sierra, a 19.8% K rate, a 9.7 swing strike rate. Just nothing really good across the board. And then we go over to his splits against right-handed hitting. He gives up a 424 slugging, the hard ball or the hard hit rate, and the WOBA is not good. And then he also doesn't strike anyone out, and he has a walk rate issue. So he is better against left-handed hitting, I will say. However, we can really target him with some right-handed hitters that can crush lefties, and the Kansas City Royals definitely provide that to us today. Whit Merrifield, Hunter Dozier, Maikel Franco, Ryan McBroom, Matt Reynolds, Edward Olivares. Those would be my top options, but you also have Bubba Starling and Cam Gallagher at the bottom of the order, and Adalberto Mondesi, who always offers a ton of upside if he can somehow get on base. He has unbelievable wheels, so he can be giving you some stolen base upside. But this 1 through 5 range, well, actually, Edward Olivares has crushed the lefties as well so far, so you got to like him. But, I mean, really the 1 through 6 range is where we're going to be looking at. And your premier options are Whit Merrifield and Hunter Dozier at the top of the order, but then Ryan McBroom there at 2K on DraftKings is way too cheap. He crushes left-handed pitching, and he's only 2K, and he gets to take on a guy that doesn't strike anyone out. So, a guy with a ton of power, the only thing you're worried about is the strikeout rate, and he's taking on someone that doesn't strike anyone out. So, definitely like him today. And, this is a little sneak peek as to what I offer. Once again, this will all be free today. My power ranking, so I break down my top overall plays of the slate, and you can see, Hunter Dozier second in the first base spot. And then I like Whit Merrifield a lot, coming in as my favorite second baseman. So, and then I had mentioned Ryan McBroom. I haven't filled out this cheat sheet yet. This will all be filled out for you guys. It'll break down, upper price tier, mid price tier, and lower price tier on FanDuel and DraftKings, so you can figure out the top plays at each price tier, each position. And I can tell you right now that Ryan McBroom will be featured in there as my first baseman on the cheap end because he's literally minimum salary and he crushes and he's in the 4 spot. So you can look for his name to be inserted into that sheet later on in the day because he's just in a great spot and he's way too cheap. So I definitely like the Royals righties today. And then moving further along, the next guy that we can target would be Kikuchi, taking on these Arizona Diamondbacks. He's not been good, but I will say these Arizona Diamondbacks have been terrible, so I'm not even going to break down their bats because I'm just not interested in stacking that team up. They've just been bad. I'm just going to pass on that. And the next spot that I'm interested in, really, to be honest with you, would probably be, when scrolling down this list, would be targeting Jordan Lyles, taking on these Oakland Athletics. Jordan Lyles has been a guy that I've really liked picking on this year. He just hasn't been good. When you look at his, my color-coded data behind me, he's the only guy on the sheet that doesn't have anything yellow whatsoever. Not even one thing is he averaging. He's just really bad at everything. Sorry to be, crude or whatever, but it's just true. And when you're looking at his numbers against righties, he has a 448 slugging, 23.4% K rate's respectable, but just gives up way too much hard contact. And then against lefties, it's the same thing, and it gets actually even way worse than the ground ball and the fly ball category. So, yeah, Jordan Lyles, just a guy to have a ton of interest in targeting today. And the number one guy that stands on my list is Matt Olson. Matt Olson's just a guy that absolutely crushes right-handed pitching. And then when looking at my, so it's this tool I offer. It's a hot hitter StatCast data tool. I'll give you guys a little sneak peek of this. So it breaks down, the barrels that a hitter has, their hard hit percentage, the amount of hard hits they've had on the season, and then their max exit velocity and their exit velocity. And the reason I wanted to bring up this tool is because if we go down to Mr. Matt Olson, this is the top 100 in the league. This is the top 100 hitters in the league for barrels, and it's color coded. So if a guy has yellow or green on the or yellow or red on the sheet, it's like he's still top 100 in the league in barrels. So you still have to have interest. This is just a way to separate the hottest from the hot type of deal. And Matt Olson, you can see he's green and yellow across the board right here. When looking at his name, he's just been crushing all year long, and he crushes against right-handed pitching. So we definitely have to have interest in Matt Olson. When you factor in his power upside, you factor in Jordan Lyles being terrible, you definitely got to like Matt Olson. So he's number one on the list. Number one on my power rankings today is at first base, and I have a ton of interest in him, but then I have a ton of interest in this team as a stack overall. So Tommy La Stella, Marcus Semien, I have a lot of interest in Semien at the shortstop position, Ramon Laureano, Robbie Grossman, Mark Canha, and I definitely like Sean Murphy a lot as a catcher. You're going to pay for him, but he's one of the top catchers in the league as far as being able to rake. So catcher is a position that's hard to find guys that can actually really rake, and he's definitely up there on my list today. So you got to like these Oakland Athletics. And then moving further along, the next guy I'm going to mention is actually worse than him in the Sierra category, and that's John Lester, because I do think that we can target some of these Milwaukee Brewer bats today. Lester, doesn't really strike anyone out, has a bad swinging strike rate. The ground ball rate's not good, and specifically against righties, he gives up a 437 slugging. The WOBA, the hard hit rate's not good, and the ground ball and the fly ball once again below average. You're seeing a lot of orange there, and then he's actually worse against lefties in the slugging category. But overall, we do want to target him with right-handed hitting, but we can throw in lefties and feel confident as well. And that's the appeal of this stack today. And these Milwaukee Brewers definitely have some guys that slug left-handed pitching. Most notably, Avisail Garcia, Jed Jerko, and Ryan Braun. All three of those guys just absolutely crush left-handed pitching. And then I had mentioned his splits, not really doing that well against lefties, so you could go ahead and throw in an elite bat in Christian Yelich, who's probably going to be low-owned because it's a lefty-lefty matchup. And it's not like John Lester is one of the worst pitchers in the league. I don't really know how popular this stack will be. And then, as I had mentioned, it's lefty-lefty. Anytime it's lefty-lefty, you're probably going to get him lower owned. So Christian Yelich, definitely a good contrarian play today. And definitely a guy that I would have interest in playing at a good shot of getting him at low ownership. Anytime you can get an elite bat at low ownership, you love that. If he goes out and hits 2 home runs, you're looking pretty good in tournaments. Next on the list is a little bit of a sneakier play, taking on the Seattle Mariners. Alex Young has not been good, especially in the hard contact category. You can see a 44.2% hard hit rate, not good. It's really red on my sheet. And then against righties is where he's really been struggling, the 46.2% hard hit rate and a 497 slugging. And then against lefties, the slugging and the WOBA is a lot better. So we do want to target him with right-handed hitters, and I do think that the Seattle Mariners have some good options today. It's tough because they're not the most elite lineup. But however, with that being said, I love targeting those type of lineups because a lot of times they don't get ownership, and I'm going to want to target these righties. So my favorites would be Dylan Moore, Kyle Lewis, Ty France, and Evan White. The 2-3 hitters and the 5 and 6. If I'm stacking up this team, I love that. And then Phillip Ervin at the bottom of the order also crushes left-handed pitching. So you could toss him in, and you could toss in Luis Torrens to fill in that catcher spot and round out your stack. So when you look at the salary and you look at the position that these guys are in, and the matchup against Alex Young, you can definitely have interest against Alex Young, and you can definitely have interest in the Seattle Mariners bat. So they're the next team that I would mention. And then the last spot that we're going to have to mention is, well, I will say, I had mentioned having interest in Casey Mize, but obviously you do have to have interest in the Chicago White Sox as well, because I had already mentioned they crush and Mize has been struggling. So you got to pick which side of the fence you're on. You could probably build lineups with White Sox stacks and lineups with Casey Mize in it. And when looking at what he's been struggling with the most, the right-handed power. He's at a 571 slugging against righties and a 424 WOBA, not good. And then against lefties, he's been struggling just all around. But the Chicago White Sox are mostly a right-handed heavy team, and they're mostly righties that can mash but do have high strikeout rates. So, you're either dealing with home runs or strikeouts most likely. But you do have 2 elite hitters that are switch hitters, so they'll be hitting from the left side of the plate in Yoan Moncada and Yasmani Grandal, who, when looking at Mize's stats, we had mentioned he's striking out left-handed pitching. So they're going to be, the top options, including your stack. But then you throw in those right-handed power hitters that have a chance to go deep with the slugging numbers. Guys like Jose Abreu, Eloy Jimenez, Edwin Encarnacion, and Luis Robert. You could feel good about that. That's a high upside stack, but they are very, very expensive. They're all over 5K. So outside of Edwin Encarnacion, so expensive stack there. But one to mention, and then I had mentioned, Mize is probably my favorite salary relief pitcher, so it might be hard fitting in that stack on this slate. But one I have to mention, and then the last spot I have to talk about is Coors Field, because it's Coors Field. Anytime there's a game at Coors Field, you have to have interest because it's the best hitting environment in baseball, and it's the best hitting environment whenever you're playing MLB daily fantasy sports. So yeah, Mike Trout is very good at baseball, and he gets to play at Coors Field. So you're going to want to have interest in Mike Trout today. He tops my power rankings in the outfield position, and I mean, for obvious reasons, he's top guy. And you might be thinking power rankings, well, that's easy. You just go ahead and list all the most expensive guys, but that's not true. It fluctuates on a day-to-day basis. And for instance, today I have Avisail Garcia as my third top guy. This is like my top 3 options on the slate. And when we're looking at Avisail Garcia's salary on DraftKings, he's only 2.7K. So just want to throw a little bit of disclaimer in there, because I don't want people thinking, oh, you just go ahead and toss in the most expensive guys in your power rankings. That's easy, because that's just not the case. So sorry if I got off track there a little bit, but I just want you guys to be aware this is like actual top plays, guys in good positions. So take that for what it is. But yeah, this course field game, you have to have interest. Mike Trout tops the list, and then the central part of this order, they are priced up 1 through 4. David Fletcher, Mike Trout, Ohtani, and Anthony Rendon. But the bottom of this order is like almost criminally underpriced, and I have a feeling these guys are going to be popping on my cheat sheet when I fill that out. Because they're in course field and they're in the 2K range. Justin Upton, Jared Walsh, Joe Adell, and Anthony Baboom, who Baboom is, not making my power rankings as a catcher strictly because he hits in the 9 spot, but he has a lot of power, and he'll definitely be on my cheat sheet, I have a feeling, because, at only 2.7K in course field, I think he's a great salary relief option, so I want to go ahead and throw that in for you guys. So yeah, we do prefer, Trout, Ohtani, Rendon, but they are priced up. And we play daily fantasy sports where you have to play guys at each position, fill in the pitchers you like, and then fill in salary. So, with that being said, I could see just stacking up the bottom of the order with these salary relief guys and feeling pretty happy because they do have a 5.77 implied run total in course field. So I gotta like the Angels. And then you have to like the Rockies, specifically Trevor Story and Nolan Arenado. When looking at Griffin Canning's numbers, you can see that he has really Griffin Canning. Where is he? Right here. Griffin Canning taking on the Colorado Rockies. The ground ball and the fly ball category is really, really bad. The hard hit category is really bad. And then specifically against right-handed hitting, the ground ball, the fly ball stuff is just absolutely terrible. And the woe with the hard hit rate and the slugging. So, and he's not great against lefties either. But righties, it's real bad. And, when you have 2 elite hitters in Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story, they both top my list today at their positions, and you have to have a ton of interest in them. And then you could go ahead and toss in the salary relief guys at the bottom of this order as well, and Kevin Pillar, Matt Kemp, Ryan McMahon, Gary Hampson, and Tony Walters. So, make with that what you will. Obviously, we do want to play these top hitters, Mike Trout, Trevor Story, Nolan Arenado, but these guys all come with very hefty price tags. So you're going to have to figure out some of those salary relief options that we've talked about earlier for bats and some of the salary relief options for pitching. Except I almost feel like I would not, I don't know. It's tough going down at pitching on this slate, I feel. So that's where things are getting tough as far as targeting cores, and I do think there's some other good spots for bats, but we do have some good salary relief guys, most notably Ryan McBroom, as I had mentioned earlier, in this first base spot for these Kansas City Royals. He's only minimum salary 2K on DraftKings. So yeah, I mean, those are the type of guys you're gonna have to throw in your lineups to fill in the top options that we want, like an Arenado, a Trevor Story, or a Mike Trout. So that's the situation we're faced with on today's slate. I do think we do have some flexibility. We do have some good options all around. It's a larger slate. We have some good bats. We have some cheaper pitching. And as we're filling out our lineups, I think we can really go any way we want. And that's a good feeling. Put in the guys you feel confident in and ride with it. So I think this slate gives us that option. We can go pitching. We can go hitting. We can pretty much do whatever we want. And when looking at, my home run call of the day, it's a segment I do every single day, where I give you guys my favorite pick to hit a home run. I try to give you reasoning. I try to give you, my best reasoning as to why. And then I also try to mix in a combination of elite hitting as well as, cheap tier hitting. And when looking at the guy that I like to go deep today, we had discussed, the struggles in this first game of Stephen Brawl and his struggles against lefties. Right-handed hitting. Right here, and Stephen Brawl taking on these Kansas City Royals. And I do think that Stephen Brawl is good to give up a home run to one of these Kansas City Royals hitters. And specifically, my favorite option would be that in Hunter Dozier. Hunter Dozier just absolutely crushes left-handed pitching. And he's in the 2 spot taking on Stephen Brawl today. And I do like him to hit a home run. So he's going to be my home run call of the day. Brawl with that bad WOBA hard hit rate and slug rate against right-handed hitting. I definitely like me some Hunter Dozier today. You'll find him featured on my power rankings because I think he's an elite play, and I really do like him. Yeah, so he's my home run call of the day. I'm trying to give you guys a little bit of a sneaky name. I have been on a little bit of a slide with that just because my last two have been wrong, and that drops us down, right below the 500 mark. So let's get back on the right track. Hunter Dozier's hitting a home run today. Guy I don't think is going to get a lot of ownership. Guy I'm trying to maybe I'm getting a little too sneaky with these home run calls, but I want to give you guys some good low-owned options that are going to go deep. So Hunter Dozier is my call of the day. He crushes left-handed pitching. Got to like him today. And that is all from me today. So go ahead and check out my Patreon package. It'll be free today. My betting package and my MLB DFS package. You can check out both. My betting package, I'll give you guys, my favorite bets of the day and lines, and then you'll also get access to my starting pitcher data sheet, my team hitting data sheet, and all that fun stuff. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. Free today. I wish you guys all the best of luck tonight, and have a good one.